Beachless Bums, we tackle the monster 500 Smith & Wesson. The range is hot. This week is an exciting week on the Beachless Bums. Welcome out. This week we test a monster of a cartridge. Look at that baby. The 500 Smith & Wesson. Shoots a 350 grain bullet at 1900 feet per second. And this thing is a freaking monster. Butter smooth action. Should be pretty exciting to shoot. So we're going to get out to the range and we're about ready to find out where the 500 Smith comes out in the list of the world's greatest guns. Let's get out to the range and make it hot. The Beachless Bums is back and we are, to be honest with you, I'm kind of dreading this plate rack run. 8 rounds through the 500 Smith & Wesson. It's going to be a brutal experience. And I'm going to have to reload because these have a 5-round cylinder. So I'm going to have to shoot 5 shots. I've got the rest of them staged right here on my belt. In my custom loading pattern, I'm going to have to reload this gun and shoot the last 3 plates. I'm hoping my wrists can hold up to this. So 8 plate rack run. 25 possible points for every second it takes to shoot the plate rack. That's 1 second off those 25 points. Smith & Wesson 500 going hot. I'm a little frightened, to be honest with you. I feel a disturbance in the force. It's almost like Nancy Pelosi is crying as we speak because this gun is about to be fired. It's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of pain. Do my best. I'm going to have to reload on this plate rack. Here we go.
Okay. Shooter ready. Stand by. Go. $27.85.
27. Range 13 targets, which means I'm gonna have to reload this big bitch 2 times. Pray for the best. Don't count on a fast time. Just hope that my wrists hold out for one more run. Shooting 350 grain Freedom Munitions 500 Smith & Wesson ammo. My custom reload belt. Custom. Here we go. Adam's Alley. Going hot, grab the timer, here we go.
Shooter ready.
Going double action every time.
Stand by.
All right, everyone, we made it back and we've survived the onslaught of the 500 Smith & Wesson. And let me tell you, this gun has some recoil. It's really not as severe as I thought, but shooting a 350 grain bullet at 1900 feet per second genuinely produces a lot of recoil. One thing I was pleasantly surprised with is the smoothness of this action. You can pull 9 pounds out of this trigger and it is very smooth. These come out of the Smith & Wesson custom shop and they do a great job on this gun. A very smooth, refined action. It was a pleasure to pull the trigger on this gun. It wasn't a pleasure to ride out the recoil that comes after the trigger pull on this gun, but I was pleasantly surprised with the smoothness of this action. Let's talk about how she did on the range. On the plate rack. So a possible 25 points, you've got to shoot down 8 plates. This thing is so powerful, third plate in, it blew one of the plates off the plate racks. Our plates are AR500 steel, secured by 2 3/4 inch bolts to that rack. It blew one of the plates completely off the rack, snapped both those 3/4 inch bolts. That's some power. I've never seen that with anything we've ever shot on that plate rack. So it's a beast. It did require a reload. We even got a bonus plate. It actually knocked one of the plates off and then knocked one of the other plates beside it down in all the commotion. However, with the reload, after a couple runs, the best I could do was 26-25. It's got a 5-shot cylinder. Had to shove in 4 more rounds. We tried to stage them on the barrel. But the best I could do, and revolvers are really not my forte, was 26.25, which gave it a 0-point score out of a possible 25 points on the plate rack. Next, we moved to Adams Alley. This required 3 reloads because it's 13 targets scattered over 50 yards. It's moving and shooting. This handgun is super accurate, so hitting the plates was no problem. However, the reloads were just really crappy. I tried everything I could. I stuck them in the molly on my belt. I tried everything. But the best we could get this thing to do, a possible 40 points. We lose a point for every second it takes. It took 67.87 seconds to shoot the 13 plates and cover the 50 yards with this handgun, which gave it a 0-point score on Adams Alley. Next, we moved to the Prison Wallet Index. Now, as you know, the smaller the gun, the higher the score. Last week's Beretta Jetfire 950 scored a 9, almost a perfect score on the Prison Wallet Index. This is significantly larger than the Beretta Jetfire 950, which is chambered in 22 short. I'm sorry, we already have 2 zeros on the board, but we've got another 0 for the Prison Wallet Index. If you had to smuggle that between the cheeks, it's gonna be a painful experience. So 0 on the Prison Wallet Index. Now we get in some areas this thing started to shine the cool factor. This is a super cool gun. This is a very well-made handgun. This thing just screams intimidation. Look at the size of that bore. 50 caliber round coming down at you. Super scary. Cool factor. The Beatsless Bums love this gun. It's cool to look at. The trigger is a pleasure to pull. The recoil is not a ton of fun to deal with, but we gave this thing a 9 points on the cool factor. So it's finally getting on the board and in a big way. Next, impact. How much impact has this gun had on the firearms community? Well, There's not very many double action handguns made in 500 Smith & Wesson, so it's kind of a trendsetter. And I'll tell you what, there aren't very many handguns, period, with an action this smooth. This thing is super smooth. So if you're in dangerous game country and you want to carry a handgun as your backup, this is the way to go. If you've got to square off with a brown bear or a grizzly bear at close quarters, this gun's going to do the job. It's going to hit that bear as hard as you can hit it with a handgun. So impact, we gave this gun a 7 because it's doing something that no one else is doing, probably that no one else could duplicate an action this strong with an action this smooth. We gave it a 7. Our next is reliability. Possible 10 points on this. This gun never failed. Ultimate in reliability, which revolvers are. They're not the quickest to reload. However, every time you pull the trigger, the gun's going to go bang. If you get a dead cylinder, like a couple of our reloads, you'll notice on the video, I just shoved rounds in there and slammed the cylinder shut, and I knew there was a gap between rounds. So I knew I was going to get a dead round, a dead cylinder. But this thing, you move right through it. Boom, boom, click. Go to the next one, boom. So even if you get a dead round, you can move right on to the next shot. So reliability, this thing gets a perfect 10. Smith & Wesson knocked it out of the park with the smoothness of this action. I can't tell you. Until you pull the trigger on one of these, you'll never understand how good this action is. Next is lethality. So on our handgun side, lethality is determined by how lethal is this cartridge in this handgun at 100 meters. I can tell you accuracy, this thing is right on the ball. Easy to hit a plate at 100 meters with this handgun because it shoots right where the sights are pointed. So if you can do your job with the trigger, it will do its job. And then let's talk about a 350 grain bullet going 1900 feet per second. When it hits at 100 meters, it hits like a freight train. I would say it, if not the most lethal, kind of, I will say standard handgun cartridge, which it's not a standard, but it's designed for handguns. This isn't like a 45-70 and they built a handgun around it. This is a handgun cartridge, and they built a great handgun around it. Lethality, this thing gets a perfect 10. I don't know how you could get more deadly than a 350 grain bullet going 1900 feet per second. It just hits like a freight train. So when we round it out, plate rack, 0. Adams Alley, 0. Prison wallet index, 0. Cool factor, it got a 9. Finally on the board. Impact, it got a 7. Reliability, it gets a perfect 10. Lethality, it gets a perfect 10. That gives this gun a score of 36, which places it 4th on our handgun list of the world's greatest guns. It's probably not going to stick there very long, but I'll tell you what, it was kind of overmatched. The tests that we do for the world's greatest gun aren't a great fit for this handgun. Five rounds in the cylinder, having to do multiple reloads. The amount of recoil this thing produces, having to manage that is not easy. So it was kind of some hurdles to overcome, but I'll tell you what, it's a cool handgun. Really like it. The action on this thing is really hard to beat. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. We want to thank you for subscribing. We want to thank you for the likes on our Facebook post. We want to thank you for the follows on Instagram. We want you to encourage you to do that. We want you to encourage to reach out, to share these videos, to help our little channel grow as we continue our quest for the world's greatest gun. We want to remind you we're giving something away. And I can't tell you what that thing is that we're giving away. But if you go to our Beachless Bums Facebook page, we'll talk a little bit more about it. I'll give you a hint, it's got a green laser on it, and it's super fun to shoot, and we keep adding things to it. So if you go to our Facebook page, you can see what we're giving away. We want to thank our sponsors. We have no sponsors, but imagine if you sponsored us, the other 6 people watching this video right now would think you're super cool for sponsoring this, and you could get exposed to 6 people randomly throughout the United States. And wow, you can't ask for much more impact for your business than that. We do want to thank all those serving our country in the military and in law enforcement. We want to thank you for all you do. We appreciate you. We recognize the sacrifices that you make. And if we can ever do anything to help you, please reach out to us here at Beachless Bums or Washington Street Pond. We will be more than happy to do whatever we can to help you out. Want to tell everyone to be safe out there. The world's kind of crazy, but there's a ton of good people out there. And if we pull together, we can make positive change. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Tune in next week. We've got a ton of cool stuff coming. We got a SAW, a squad automatic weapon at $249. We got a German MP40 9mm submachine gun. We've got all kinds of goodies coming down the pipe for the Beachless Bums. So like, share, subscribe, and be a part of what we're doing. We thank you. Have a great day.